So we just happened, timing was on our side. And the geologist said, let's grab a little bit here, grab a little bit here. And I said, we're going to put it all together, because if I spend money here and I need to put money up here, I told you we've got to work claims to keep them alive. It needs to be contiguous. So we're going to grab everything we can, and we're going to grab both these magnetic anomalies. We grabbed the Lalande one first, then to the south, there's Victoria West anomaly. It's 20 kilometers. Victoria West is in the west, Colony is in the east. 6 kilometers of mineralization of Victoria West. A small area mineralized at Colony and a big question mark in the middle, but we know the magnetics. We know the nickel's magnetic. A lot we don't know. Does it continue for 20 kilometers? We don't know. But we started grabbing land because geologists noted the historic record. A fellow I work with who helps me who claims land for me, also made some suggestions, and I said, let's just do it. If we're going to do it, go big or go home, right? Why do it halfway? Let's take it all. Since then, we've been staked in. We've been staked all around. There's companies actively exploring around us, and now they're trying to sell claims I didn't take back to me, and I'm saying, no, we've got enough ground. We have 6 areas of mineralization and 300 square kilometers. We're good. So that's kind of how we came to be.
So, thank you for coming to see us. It's
my pleasure.
Awesome. There's so many things that I find interesting about the whole geological play that's happening in Quebec, but yet, is it frustrating for you that we don't hear about it enough in the news, it's like an $8 billion industry in Quebec, and
it's a dirty word in this country. Forget about Quebec. We're a natural resources country, and nobody wants to talk about it. We want to be a data-driven country. We're teasing ourselves. But yes, it's frustrating. However, the mainstream is starting to talk about it. The resource market, my perspective, the junior resource market, has been in probably at this point a 10-year drought, with zero recognition as to the economic contribution that mining makes to this province, the province of Quebec, or the country of Canada as a whole. Mining and its knock-on effect is a significant economic driver in this country, yet our government doesn't want to talk about it federally. Quebec is taking a serious look. They're supporting mining. Quebec is probably the most progressive province in this country to be mining in. Well, there's far worse places. Quebec, from my perspective, is probably the best province in this country to work in. It is a dirty word still. Nobody wants to talk about it or hear it. These things that we all love to live our lives, without metal, this would not exist. It is a truism that if you don't grow it, you have to mine it. Every single thing you touch every day, if it was not grown, it was mined. But all of that being said, for an investor, the rotation of the generalist into the mining space is long overdue, and it's coming because it's where they're going to find returns. Greed drives the market, and the market will recognize that the potential for outsized returns exists in the mining space. Partly because they're starting to hear about mining. EVs are pushing mining to the fore. You don't have to go too far to see, even I get copied on bank research, and they're starting to talk, the banks, starting to talk about metals like they're a thing.
RBC, National, like the
UBS, the European banks, that sort of stuff.
Okay, because that's they've got the European market has a completely different, and you can see it. You can tell it's an older continent. They're understand.
Ahead of us, like fashion, music, everything. They're usually a bit ahead of us here in North America, but they're seeing what's coming. And as the generalist rotates, realizes, well, maybe they need to hold gold. They don't want to hold gold, so maybe they need to hold the equity. Maybe they need to hold the junior miner, the one who's actually going along drilling. It might seem sleepy, like nothing's happening, like why is the company even in existence? But the whole time behind the scenes, we're drilling the holes.
Yeah. And
then we're assaying the results. And when we come to the market and say, whoa, look what we found, that's when the market, we can't predict what the market will react to, unfortunately, but at some point the market takes notice. Absolutely. And then the stock goes from doing this to that.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the most important things and interesting things about juniors for the generalist investor is that, like, we will never ever suggest go all in into juniors, but if you want like a potential of actually making huge gains percentage wise without putting a lot, like a good portion of your portfolio, there's there, and also you can play the commodity through the junior. There's a lot of flexibility. You can play the commodity,
you can play the location, you want to invest in Quebec? Well, what do you want to invest in? If you want your investment to be Quebec specific, for example, it's probably mining.
Yeah.
Right? It's Quebec, because you can isolate the project. I especially have to be careful what I say. I cannot give financial advice. I cannot tell you what to do. What I always tell people is do your due diligence. Always make sure you know what you're looking at or investing in. As well, nobody's portfolio should be 100% in anything. I'm the exception to the rule. I give brokers like compliance calls constantly because my entire portfolio, go figures, in junior mining. But again, I was also a stockbroker, and to me it's not risky. There's zero risk in Renforth because I know exactly what's happening.
No, that's correct.
The bank is risky to me because, I don't understand that. But you get leverage in junior mining. You buy a penny stock, you buy many more shares. With your, you got more bang for your buck. Your $1,000, you can actually invest $1,000 in junior mining. You can't invest $1,000 in blue chip stock.
No,
maybe you get like 6 shares.
Exactly, and
you
there won't
don't
be that much.
And those 6 shares, for you to get any kind of meaningful return, the returns have to be outsized, because in the blue chips, the returns are never outsized. They're consistent. They're not outsized. In junior mining, that's where a 7-cent stock can be a 25-cent stock,
or eventually
a 50-cent stock
can go to $1.
Can do what you don't know what it's going to do, but you do know your 7-cent stock. What's the worst that could happen?
Absolutely.
Your risk is only your $1,000, so you should only be investing money that's risk money anyway.
We were talking yesterday. I was talking to another gentleman from a mining company, and he was telling me a story that he was getting one of his investors, not an actual company, but a previous company he had, that bought in at 3 cents, and he rode it all the way to around $30, held it, and then when it started dropping, he would call him and say, "I'm losing money." And he said, "No, you're not losing money. What you should have done, you should have gone out." And then, instead of keeping it there, because at a certain point when there's a bump, you enjoy that and take it out. But there's this concept of telling this gentleman, saying, if the stock had gone all the way to 4 cents, then you would have lost money. All the rest is gravy. So it really depends.
The market's all about perception. I was speaking to your brother, and I have a shareholder who I know bought in around 3 cents, saying they've been in the company so long. Well, yeah, but in that time the stock's traded at 12 cents, so you could have been out with a 4-bagger. Right now the stock's at 7 cents. You're still here. I appreciate the support, but I can't tell you when to buy or when to sell. I'm not even allowed to tell you to buy or to sell, but it's always hard. If people fall in love, investing's emotional, especially in a junior where you get invested, you know the story, you know the people. It's always a good practice when you're making money to take a little bit off the table. And it's fear of missing out, FOMO, diamond hands, all the meme stock guys buying the stonks. Yeah. You gotta know your entry and your exit points. And please don't spend money you've made if you haven't crystallized the money you've made.
Yeah.
Don't get ahead of yourself in that, you own some stonk with your diamond hands and it's a 40% return and you spend that 40%, sell the stonk first.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was wondering, do you get a lot of traction, or you see a lot of traction coming out of Asian markets, since, China is also a big powerhouse when it comes to natural resources, and I could see them being able to analyze, like, the Canadian Shield, going like, oh, we know this. This is interesting. And since we're us locals, sometimes we're not looking at, because like you said, it's a bad word, or it's natural resources.
Oh no,
that's not the real...
China's 5-year plan makes very clear they're going to dominate the resource markets. And actually they're cleaning up, they're doing the right thing in that they're cleaning up their own mining practice, which is only intensifying their need to bring in material from outside. Because they own the processing technology in a lot of the, like in the battery metal space. All the processing, all the chip making, all that stuff's concentrated in Asia. But as they clean up their own in-house, in-country mining, they stop the real pollution. They start to have environmental standards. Takes a lot of their own stuff offline, and they do go out to bring it in. Chinese or Asian investors individually, I do have a fair number of them, Canadians. Not sure how simple it is for Chinese in China to actually invest, because they have a bunch of capital flight legislation that's come into play. Chinese companies, every once in a while we hear from them. You don't have to look far to see Chinese companies in action in Canada. No. I mean, the Cote project of IAMGOLD, which has got issues, but it's 30% owned by Sumitomo, which is Japanese. Sumitomo just announced that they're doubling down on nickel. They're going to look to get as much out of their nickel assets or acquire new nickel assets as they can. So, and then you saw the purchase, the Canadian government stepped in and stopped the purchase by a Chinese company of one asset in the Arctic. Yeah. That was for strategic reasons. They didn't want the physical foothold in our Arctic. But yeah, China's here. China's shopping. It's not just China, but the Asians are here.
Yeah, the Asian market, and I think it's...
They see our resources, they see how the potential, the untapped potential, there's still lots of exploration to be done in Canada, and they're watching.
And they know that and it's interesting because there is a lot of knowledge here. There's a lot of good geologists, there's a lot of... There's like the talent is there.
We're like hockey players. Canadian geoscientists are exported around the world, the same as our players are going around the world. Mm-hmm. It's the pretty much. I'm shooting from the hip here, but I'd hazard a guess that most major mining stories have Canadians involved in them around the world.
Oh yeah,
be it exploration or physically operating. But the enrollment at all the schools of mining is down. So kiddos, the young kids aren't going into the field. We're facing a huge dearth of talent. There are significant gaps, and they're cyclical. I mean, mining is a cyclical business, and if it sucks as a career, kids going into school are like, why would I do that when nobody can find funding for a project, or the investors are all mad at them, or I have to work remotely and the company can't afford to do nice things for me while I'm working remotely like they were doing in the oil sands when the oil sands were rocking. So it's I don't know, it's a fundamental business that'll never go away. We'll always have a need for it.
Yeah, well that's
but it ebbs and flows.
It ebbs and flows, but it's like you said, it's one of the basics. Like, there's a reason. It's natural resources. Everything you see around you comes from natural resources, whether it be petroleum, whether it be rocks, pulp and paper. Those are all natural resources. But in this, I hate to say it, it almost sounds like whitewashed, over politically correct world. No. We don't like those companies, but at the same time, I want to go traveling. I want to have my electric Tesla car because I look great, and I want to have my new iPhone. But we don't like those companies, and
we don't like those industries. But let's look at it differently. Let's look at where fortunes are made. You make fortunes in the values. There's a value cycle, so you get. I don't even know, pick an industry that's just massaging data. It's just recycling what's already out there. you can make money doing that, but you're only going to make an incremental amount relative to you have to buy your inputs and then sell it, right?
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of potential there. We're at the very beginning of the value creation cycle. As I talked about earlier, we're taking a field, we're proving the field is worth money, and then we're liberating that money from the field. We're releasing that money, and that's where fortunes are made. That's where people can make money.
Yeah.
If you can pick the right junior that's got the right asset, that actually intends to put the money in the ground, push the asset forward, and then sell the asset, or open a mine, however it happens, that's where value's created. We're taking nothing, it's a field, and we're making something. So that's the very beginning of the value creation cycle. Lots of opportunities along the way to make money too. Even the guy who has the one restaurant in Malartic will do better when we're there, because we have to eat somewhere, we go to the one restaurant, so his sales go up, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Lots of knock-on effect. But, you know, creating value, and that's in this country, the lumber industry. They throw some seeds, wait 20 years, look at New Brunswick, the giant forestry lot. You know, Quebec is similar. But yeah, value creation, and it's, nobody wants to talk about it, but you just have to look around at where some of the Canadian fortunes were built.
Oh, yeah.
They were built in the natural resources cycle. They were built with discoveries. It was regular Joes, it was industrialists, it was a bunch of people in between. They benefited from that value creation.
Absolutely. And then alcohol.
Well, you got to grow the inputs, so it's still a natural resource.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to.
And we got lots of water, so there's no problem there.
You got to plant some rye and make some whiskey.
Yeah.
But for Renford, like, you are you just gonna like bring it all the way up, and then you're looking for somebody to take you out, or do you want to go all the way? Are you in that decision, or are you staunchly, no, I'm just, I love exploration?
My ego does not require me to put my name on a mine. My financial desires require me to push it through, but maybe you sell it. I mean, realistically, there's a point, the challenge in life, one of the challenges in life is knowing when to put the mic down and walk away, right?
Yeah.
Know when you're outside of your end of the pool, right?
Yeah.
So do I want to go into the deep end? I have to think, with the commodities we're dealing with, which are so sorely needed at Surimo, I'm not going to get too far towards the deep end before the big fish come over and are like, okay, it's very nice what you've been doing. Very good job. We appreciate you. Here's a check. Go away. Like, that's going to be the scenario. Now, I mean, I took an asset. The asset that got me involved in Renforth was New Alger, because it was the back pocket. It was a long, convoluted story, but it was a prize asset of an old friend who's gone now. New Alger, we developed it to a point. We sold it to the neighbor. Mm-hmm. We made money on the transaction. So that's the perfect execution of an explorationist business model. An explorationist is not a miner.
Yeah.
I'm not a miner.
No, you're...
No. There's a lot of math involved. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a miner, Yeah. But is there a point in the cycle with even Surimo, 6 different areas of mineralization? Say we bring Victoria West along enough, someone comes knocking, I'll be like, okay, well, you can have this much of the pie, but all this and all this and all this is still ours, and we're going to let you play with this piece, and then we're going to go play with this piece. Like, there's enough, that's a big pie, Surimo. So, realistically, partners are going to manifest themselves.
Yeah, and that's actually like important, knowing where you want to cut yourself. I know this lady, she had a company called Angle Energy like a while back, and they brought the stock up to $12. And she was into oil and gas. She was, and she told us at a certain point, said, I think I went too far. So now I have a human resource department. And she went, I didn't want to go there, but I got brought there.
Maybe circumstances dictate that. As you well know, I can't see the future.
Yeah.
But would I say no to a partner coming in? No. Mm-hmm. Why? If it's to the best the best benefit of shareholders. I mean, I'm a very significant, personally speaking, this is my world. This is my life. This is how my kids go to university. Maybe one day the mortgage gets paid off, but it's cheap money, so why pay it off? Different story. However, this is my world. So if it can benefit shareholders to leverage someone else's expertise or money, for sure. I mean, I know people are watching. I know, and I can gauge that because of the sales calls I get. Even in the cab on the way over here, I had some think tank out of Austria? Freaking European. Anyway, Switzerland? I don't know. Worldwide database of nickel assets.
And they're
putting Surmo in there. Now the flip side is they want to sell me something. I'm like, send me an email. But that tells me that Surmo's getting attention. They're finding me. I have funds telling me about all these wonderful people who want to become partners by doing a private placement into Renforth, which is the last thing I'm looking for right now. Because I've got $1 million in the bank, $3 million in the trading account, and then a gold deposit.
Yeah.
I will run through those before I do more dilutive transactions.
Equity in the,
So, and I know we have relationships, we have shareholders with relationships, and I know people are watching. They're watching to see, what is it? What the story unfolds. Watch the story unfold. What does that asset really look like it is? If it walks like it and talks like it, is it really it? We got to do some work to get there to prove that, to demonstrate that, and we're doing that work.
Got just this one question. When it comes to shareholders, because you just said, okay, you got money in the till, you got money in the trading account, you got a gold deposit, and how frustrating is it for you as a CEO that when you see your stock at 7 cents, knowing that it's not where it's supposed to be, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand, is that the stock price does not necessarily always equate to the value of the company.
Precisely, or the potential of the company, or the value. And some of it, okay, the gold deposit, we're in the midst of rebuilding the model, and we will restate that resource. Then the market will attribute value to that. Mm-hmm. Right now, the market's not attributing any value to Surmo. There's not enough eyes on it yet. And there's no resource statement in place, which the market really does need. I've learned the market has no imagination. Really needs it on a platter. Frustrating for me? Of course it's frustrating for me. And I mean, I can remedy it short term. I can go old school promote on everyone, and I can pay for trading, and I can pop the stock price, I can front run the stock price. I don't do any of that. The money goes in the ground. And if you're so inclined to read financial statements, you can determine for yourself that the money coming in the company is going in the ground. That's all I can do. I mean, I struggle with the fact that I'm a fairly black and white person. I acknowledge that there's a lot of gray in the world, but I'm not a promoter. I'm not an old school pump and dump promoter. I know I have to show people the dream if I get told that by various people who tell me what I need to do better. I'm just trying to illustrate to people, where can things go? Why is it important? And all I can do is find as many channels as possible to tell the story.
Yeah, no, you're correct, and I think it's also significant to point out that I don't necessarily agree with that old mentality of pump and dump and making, putting lipstick on a pig, and like all the different expressions that I've heard, that I've seen, and where you're going like, but wait a second, let me just do my homework, and then you go, no, this is a promote. This is a clear promote. For sure. And then you have other people that are going like, no, let me follow my stock, listen to my story, understand what I'm doing, and the rest of it you'll see. Which is, I think, the way that business A should be done, and B, it's a much easier way to communicate with people.
Right. So the biggest point of frustration for me is when I do get shareholders who say to me, why isn't Renforth doing that? And I know how that's happening.
Why didn't you put lithium, why didn't you change Renforth Resources to Renforth Lithium?
Well, why wasn't it let's back up. Why wasn't it a cryptocurrency? Why didn't it Bitcoin mine? Why didn't it sell pot? There are so many things I could have done.
You got, you could start doing
I had somebody
mushrooms.
I had somebody who wanted to grow pot in the attic at Parbeck. Why can't we dewater it and just grow marijuana in there?
You could do mushrooms.
Sure.
It's dark and dark.
Dark and dank, and just grow a bunch of There's so many
psychotropic mushrooms.
There's so many things, but the point of frustration for me is when people are like, "Well, why isn't Renforth doing that?" I'm like, "Well, I can take the treasury, and sure, the stock will go to 40, 50 cents, not for long, and you damn well better have it timed right." But yeah, there are people out there, we used to, back in the dark old days when I was a broker, call it kiting stock.
No.
You know?
No.
So it happens, but it's not the game I play. And that's all I can tell people is you pretty much get, I'm very plain spoken, I know this for a fact, if not harsh, and you pretty much get what you see. Now, the big dichotomy or the dysfunction in the public markets and the exploration markets where they try and meet in those shares, it's not a lightning fast trading environment. Mm-hmm. It's really, you should buy the shares, let them wallow in the back of your TFSA or your trading account or whatever, look at the stock or read my newsletters, stay in tune, but don't look at the trading price every 5 minutes. It's not, and there are people, Canada's security legislation is lax at best. You can be legitimately naked short without declaring it, like it's BS the way our administrators run the market. I can't change that. Do I know there's guys playing it for half a penny? Of course.
Yeah.
There's a ridiculous algo that buys 1,000 shares every morning. Why? I don't know. I can't stop it. I don't care to even try to stop it. It's not material. But just buy the shares, then relax. Because exploration, I've told you all the things we can do, none of it happens quickly.
No.
The airborne survey we're flying should have been flown a month ago, but weather, equipment failure, and like human issues, we're going to start this weekend. You know, drilling, I'm hoping to have it start towards the end of March, but I need the airborne data, I need it interpreted. It takes time. And the market's going, meanwhile, exploration's going, we'll get there.
And I think it's also, it speaks volume to the immediacy of people right now. It's like, oh, I want things to happen because
Instantly.
we're all used to instant.
Yeah, Amazon, just have it at my door now.
Exactly, because I can't even wait to get it. But when it comes to investing, there's a difference. There's certain stocks, if you want to trade them.
Oh, yeah.
But there are stocks that you want to invest. And you got to learn the difference.
There's a difference.
Hold on to it. Like you said, stick it in your back pocket and forget about it for 6-7 months. Set up an alert on your computer saying, oh, news. News from Renford. Oh, okay. Or just go on the Invercio platform and you'll see once in a while, oh, there's news from Renford. And then look at it. But every day it's...
Oh, yeah.
And then, I think it's born out of, you were telling this story, you had one shareholder that, he made a huge amount of money on a penny stock, and now he's expecting it to happen any day. It's like, okay, so is this today where you're going to finally go become a 10-bagger and my 7 is going to be worth...
You're going to see it coming. The same as I tell people, Surimo, Victoria West, it was a discovery hiding in plain sight. The data was there. Nobody looked. We looked. Are we geniuses? Well, probably not. Realistically, we're just regular people. But we looked. The discovery was hiding in plain sight. If the stock, but I'll say when, appreciates drastically due to technical results, you'll have seen it coming. I'll be telling you every step of the way. I'm not quiet. I'll be like, whoa, we've got some money. Gonna do this. Whoa, we're gonna drill some holes. Whoa, results are coming. Oh, here are the results. These are really good results. Because the day I say, here's the results, these are really good results, I guarantee it's not like that. Because that news has to disseminate. It has to hit the person who cares.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that person's threshold is going to be, but they're out there. They're going to see something that's like, okay, that was what I was waiting for. Now I'm moving. And they'll have people that'll move with them. And when they make that decision, whatever triggered them will have been in plain sight and probably sitting there for a little while. don't know those triggers.
So we got about 5 minutes before this portion of the ordeal is done.
Yay!
I wanted to just touch on something that I've been wondering. So you started, being, and this sounds so cliche, but being a woman in this industry, because I know the geologist, the mining industry, much like the oil and gas industry, is always male dominated, and also not just any males, some males from a different era. How is it for you? Like,
well, I was raised by one of those males from a different era.
Yeah.
And I do see his playbook unfold. Like, love him to death, but he's hilarious when he's just being an old man, because I'm like, I didn't know about any of this until it was a problem. Now it's my problem. But I wasn't involved, so why is it my problem? Because I'll fix it. It's knowing what you're dealing with. I mean, I was always a tomboy.
Okay.
I'm very type A, very aggressive. Like competitive sports, that sort of thing. So there's that. It's just who I am. But I mean, I was also raised by parents that didn't see boy, girl.
Yeah, no.
It was just, you're the kids, get out. You're driving us nuts, go play outside. So, partly upbringing. I understand I'm working in a man's world. If I need to, I can swear like a trucker. And I don't. It's not, and I was lecturing my daughters about how swearing is laziness. I have a huge vocabulary. I don't need to, but some people, that's what they understand. So you meet people on their level. Mm-hmm. I'm fairly independent. And if I can't, I'll fake it. So you won't even know that I'm way out of my league. But no, you just understand what you're playing.
Yeah, and
and as a female, you can play it one of two ways. I choose to go one way, realistically, to give men credit, once you reach a certain point, they stop seeing male or female. They're just seeing, can you do what I need you to do?
Yeah, once you've hit them a couple of times hard enough with a pistol, that usually works out.
No, but most men in business, I mean, there are some, and I'll jump to that fight real quick. I have in the past, but I don't need to. It's been a long time since I need to call a guy up. Like, would you say the same thing to a male?
Well, that's good.
I mean, you got to give men credit, begrudgingly perhaps, but give them credit. Most of them are far more sophisticated and aware, and business is business. It doesn't really matter your sex, your color, anything like that. Once you're really down and dirty. Mm-hmm. Now, another friend who was going to be in the position of managing a whole bunch of men came to me, and I won't say the industry because she'll know I'm talking about her, but she won't see this. But anyway, she's like, what's the secret? I said, there's no secret. Men are wonderful to work with. They're fairly transparent. A guy means something, he says it. Once he says it, it's said. Unless it's got other issues, it's over. He said it. He's done. He's not going to carry it around and brood on it and come back in 6 weeks and nail you with it. So when you mean something, say it.
Yeah.
And then say everything you mean, and when it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
Like, just be transparent, be straightforward. It's as plain as the nose on your face or the words on the page. That's dealing with men, in my experience. If they're not paying attention, sure, you can call them up, you can start swearing, you can get really nasty, but they'll pay attention. You're their boss. You shouldn't have to do any of that. But just deal with them on their terms. Be transparent. Nobody appreciates having to second guess what's going on.
Oh, no, and you're right. And I think I would even expand that should be a way that any company operates.
For sure.
If you say something, you say it, and then once it's done, it's done.
Out there, it's done. You deal with it and move on. But yeah, no, it's been a while. Yes, I'm a female. Where I find I have issues, it's with the shareholder, it's with investors, it's with people providing
money people. Oh no.
It's with people providing services, that sort of thing. But it's been a long time. I mean, they understand, and I'm not alone. There's an appreciable number of women in this business now, and some very, very accomplished women in this business. So, there are other people out there.
Yeah, and it's about time that's like, I'm happy to hear that's moving on, and it's not because I've got 2 daughters, and it's actually a worry of mine of how that's going to go, because I've the luxury of being a guy.
Yeah.
And never having to think about all those things.
It will impact them. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. It will impact them, but they just have to be aware of the fact that it's just a thing, and you just deal with it. If you're determined enough, you deal with it.
Awesome. It's good words to finish on. Thank you very much, Nicole, for coming to Montreal on this wonderfully snowy day. And
Montreal's beautiful in the snow.